waxing an elephant, as we say, or waxing elephant, or trying to. And all of a sudden, the young man sitting about halfway back on the other side there jumped up out of the seat and started running, speaking in tongues, and started running down the aisle with Gerald Knight. I remember that. Miss Margaret just went to heaven a few days ago with Israel. But I saw him coming and I didn't know what to do. So I was trying to get out of the way, and he made a pass around and down that aisle and back and took his seat. But I learned over that happening several times later that when I heard him jump up and saw him coming, if I just stand still, he would always go around me. But you know, such wonderful, wonderful memories that we have. What I'd like to see happen is just God set Gadsden on fire like he did in 1969. Amen. And that great 5-day revival. Sweep our city and our part of the country with revival. I'd love to see that happen. I thought maybe I'd just give you a little brief synopsis of the history of the tabernacle and how it began. First of all, I want to honor two wonderful men of God, Reverend J.D. Kirkland and Reverend Jerry Kirkland. Reverend J.D. Kirkland is the man that had the original vision for a revival center in Gadsden. Now, all the latter part of the 40s and through the 50s and on up into the early part of the 60s, almost every major city in America had revival centers where they had church 7 nights a week, and revolving evangelists would go. And many of the great evangelists, like Dr. Frank Mack, many of you remember him, that came and stayed with us. They would travel from revival center to revival center. Great, wonderful sessions on revival. And so, but J.D. Kirkland wanted that in Gadsden, and he was a home builder. He was a construction gentleman, had a company, and so they bought this property here, a little 50-foot lot, and moved the old house back, and they put up this building. Got a loan at the bank, put up this building, and get over here. I'm looking at my sister through the pole there. So happy to have my baby sister with me. We got a great Texas. But and he was in charge of that, and I'm not real sure of whoever came for the meetings in. I do know that during the interim time between Brother J.B. and Brother Jerry's taking over, there was at least one minister by the name of Bert Weech. I only met Brother Weech one time. Some of you may remember, may not remember Brother Bert Weech. But they were conducting revival meetings. And then Brother J.D. moved on to something else, and he turned it over to his brother, Jerry Kirkland. Anybody remember Rainbow Awnings in Rainbow City? That was the company that Brother Jerry had. And while he was in charge, W.D. Grant Sr. came and held a meeting. And B. Medlin, evangelist B. Medlin, many of you may not know of her, but she came and held a meeting. So that kind of set the stage for this property, and they owned the house next door and had it rented out. But anyway, during this time, in the early part of 1969, God began to give me some vivid dreams. I've shared them with most of you. I was an associate pastor at Souls Harbor Church in Dallas, Texas, with W.D. Grant Sr. And Jeannie and I were there. She was his private secretary, and I was, they called me co-pastor, but I did everything. Which is good training for young preachers. Good training. Teaches you humility, and, you know, when you're cleaning bathrooms, it teaches you humility and good things. But God began to deal with me, and so I felt led to resign, Jeannie and I started holding revivals. We were struggling to make it financially. Desperate to get meetings wherever I could. But anyway, we were in Amarillo, Texas, and back then God was gracious to give us weeks of revival. Our meeting in Amarillo ran for 19 days, and as you've heard me say, one afternoon, every afternoon I'd go to the church and pray. And one afternoon God said, go to Gadsden, Alabama. And so the only contact I had was in the magazine that Brother Grant published and mentioned his meeting here. And so I found his magazine and found the name Jerry Kirkland, and I called Jerry Kirkland, said God has spoken to me, told him who I was, my association with W.D. Grant Sr. to give me, so he would kind of find out who I was. that God had spoke to me to come to Gadsden for a week's revival. He said, come on. And so in the day before Labor Day, we drove from Dallas. I preached under a tent in Fort Worth on Saturday night, drove to Dallas, loaded my family. And we had a young lady traveling with us that some of you may remember who played the organ, because Jeannie was just learning to play the organ then. The young lady's name was Shirley Brown. She was kind of a short little plump lady who loved the Lord, but she'd get excited up there. Brother Evans mentioned a moment ago, said, we need Shirley here to bounce up and down on the organ bass. But God began to pour out His Spirit, and many of you came and participated in that 5-week revival. And almost immediately, Brother Jerry began to tell me, you need to come and plant a church, because the revival centers were beginning to be phased out. There was a small group of people that called this home and made this their home. The McPeters family, remember the McPeters family? Tom and Sarah Stevens that lived down on East Side Drive, and their daughter Joan and her husband. Joan played the piano, and Brother Evans always got tickled. He may want to tell this, but he always got tickled. We would start to get ready to open the service, and Joan would be sitting back there, and I'd say, Joan, come and play the piano. Oh, no, I don't need to do that. And I'd almost have to beg her, and then Jean said she'd come down like this and play the piano. So I'd like to see her again and hug her neck. But we had revival, and then people began to, Melba came and her trio came and sang for us, and just all kind of good things happened. And then people said, you need to come and plant the church, and I finally agreed to pray about it, and God was so gracious when he told me He wanted me to do that. But He gave me a phrase that I have lived my ministry life in Gadsden. I've that phrase ever since. He didn't tell me. He said, I want you to feed my sheep. That's what He said to me. Feed my sheep. If He had told me to come and build a church, I'd have threw up my hands and said, I don't know how to do that. If He told me to come and, organize and do everything, I'd throw up my hands and I don't know how to do that. He told me to do the one thing I knew I could do. I knew I could preach a little bit. So we moved my family here, and we started the revival. Jeannie got a job at Lord Realty as a secretary, and I started preaching and feeding the sheep. The only thing that's basically all I can still do is still preach a little bit. But listen, that's the basic foundation of the church. To build a church is the Word of God, is the gospel of Jesus Christ. But so many memories. We could spend the rest of the night as I related to you the good things that happened. Jeannie's going to give you a little update here in a moment, but we went on radio. I've been on radio in Dallas, and I wanted to be on radio here. And there were like 3 radio stations, and I went to all of them. And the only one that would sell time was Charlie Bowman at WJBY. So I've always been thankful for Charlie. He became a great friend. He and his family. He's in heaven now. And he sold me time. He had no equipment, so the station was upstairs over Life of Alabama in that building downtown. I'd go down there and I'd preach it live because they didn't have any equipment. Later, God gave us some equipment. But then about a year later, television, there was no Christian television anywhere. And God helped us to go on WHMA TV in Gadsden. Hey, Billy, praying for that great grandchild, buddy. That's one of my boys, too. I helped raise about 90% of this crowd here. But anyway, we were able to stay on radio 6 days a week at 12:45 every day. And people on their lunch hour would listen to the program. Help let people know about us down here on South 11th Street. And every week in the early days, I'd put a little 2-4 ad in the Gadsden Times, something about revival with my picture. And because they thought, the tabernacle, they thought it's a tent. They thought we were down in the tent down here. But people began to come, and we stayed on TV for 13 years, and just all kind of great things happened. But anyway, that's the history. We had a major miracle take place here one Wednesday night. I thought I told everybody and Pastor Terry just found out he hadn't heard that and wanted me to relate that. So let me tell you about Armin Wilcoxon. One Wednesday night, I'm up preaching, and Armin and Dale, his wife, normally would sit right over here. And when they came to church that night, Armin had a cold and was coughing, so he sat on the back row so he wouldn't hinder the service. 3 or 4 years prior to that, he'd had a light stroke and impaired him a little bit physically, and his speech was a little bit impaired. But he said, and I'm preaching, and all of a sudden I look, and Armin just slumps over and falls over in the pew. So I stop preaching and then run down, and as I go by, I say, Dale, come on. And we go back there, and he slumped over, and right across the aisle, there was a county health nurse, Faye Staten, that was right across the aisle. I said, help me, Faye. We got him laid on his back in the floor. She's on the right side trying to find a pulse. I'm on the left side trying to find a pulse. And I would look at her, and she'd shake my head. And from what we understood, there was no pulse. And I called out to the people. I said, call an ambulance, and everybody prayed. So the church began to pray, and we're still praying over Brother Wilcoxon. And I can't tell you, maybe a minute or two, I can't tell you how long, but all of a sudden he opened his eyes, and he began to speak. And you know what he said? He came out of it singing Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. They took him to the hospital. He stayed a few days and lived for many, many years after that. Folks, God hasn't quit raising the dead. God hasn't quit healing the sick. God hasn't quit doing signs and miracles and wonders. He still does it today. After about 6 or 7 years, we bought the house next door and tore it down, and we used the house over here as a classroom, and we built a new building back there, and just bought all the property we could buy until we finally had 3.5 acres. But we knew that we were going to keep growing because the building, God had filled the building up. We used to have to put chairs down each side of the aisle here. And only God can do that. Don Arnold didn't do that. All I did was do a little preaching. He did the rest. So we started looking for property. Thought, well, to build a good church, you need to get out on the main thoroughfare. Here we are on South 11th Street. So for a solid year, we looked for property. We could not find any anywhere. And then one morning, I'm coming back to the church. I've been to the hospital. It used to be a service station. I'm trying to think of the kind. Claude Nail had a service station down there, and that's where I bought gas. And I'm over there filling up my car with gas, and I look across the road, and there's a big sign on the property across the road that said 14 acres for sale. He gave the realtor's name and the phone number, and instantly the Lord said to me, that's your property right there. God wanted the tabernacle to stay in South Gadsden because He planted the tabernacle in South Gadsden. It was all grown up. Pastor Tommy, who grew up in this area, and his buddies, that was their kite field. And so he hadn't forgiven us yet for stealing his kite field. But they wanted 40. It belonged to the gentleman that was in charge of the Rich Hotel and his 2 siblings. They wanted $40,000 for it, and the Lord said to me, I'm going to give it to you for half that, for 20. I won't go into that, but after several dealings with them and going back and forth, we bought it. They finally got down to 22,000. And every time we think, well, maybe we should go ahead, and the Holy Spirit said, no, wait. So we got down to 22,000, and we said, no, our offer is still 20. The men and I, our offer is still 20. And so finally the realtor came back and said, well, here's what's going to happen. They've come down another $1,000 on their price. That brings it to 21. My fee is going to be $1,000, and I'm going to donate that to the church. And so that brought it down to $20,000. So you got to pay for it in 90 days. And so we started raising money. We got within about a little under $6,000 of having it paid in just a few days till we had to finish it. And y'all remember the Woodall family, Comer and Mary and their family. They were having dinner at our house. We were sitting around the table, and Cobra said, Brother Arnold, how close are you to having the money? I gave him the figure, 57 something. He got up and got his briefcase and wrote a check to the tabernacle and paid it off. So in 90 days we had it paid for. Started building, cleaned it off, looked good. Everybody in town wanted to buy it. We said, God gave it to us, we can't sell a foot of it. Can't sell a foot of it. And so we started building, and it took us a year. In 1978, God moved us into the new building. And we just kept going and going and going. And the beauty of it is, the tabernacle is still going and going and going and going and going. Give a shout of praise to God for what He's done.